Being using social media like Snapchat has always been a great deal of fun for me and my friends, especially when we are doing some hilarious videos that we share with friends and family. But there was only one time that it was the most creepiest and the disturbing of time when I was using Snapchat. I was considering to delete my Snapchat and altogether, but luckily though, I didn't. This happened back in 2022 when I was in my second year of college. I was currently better than 22 years old and currently 23 years old, so this happened about a year ago. My name is Kelly, by the way. Ever since COVID has slowly started to diminish over time, I was being allowed to go back to college along with my friends Rosaline, who's my best friend, and my boyfriend Benjamin. Both of them are around the same age as myself. In fact, we had known each other since high school. And I say, been during the time before when we were still in lockdown, me just using Snapchat to as a way to communicate with Benjamin or even Rosaline or even some other close friends. Because during the time I wasn't even allowed to see my own boyfriend. And I understand that because I understand the basic rules, but if we had lived together, then I would not have to be worried. But when we all of us found out that we were allowed to go back to college, to normal classes again, we were so excited. In fact, the day before we supposed to go back to classes to college, we met up at the park, and we decided to do a Snapchat for my Instagram to make a statement or comment about that we all had missed college and that we had missed it to be each other's company and that will be back. We were just goofing around and said what we thought about college so far and that we had missed it so much. And after I posted that on my Instagram, I was like, this is actually not a bad idea. And later that evening, when I got home, I actually received a follow request from a guy named Roger. He followed a few people and some people followed him. And he commented my video that with Rosaline and Benjamin that we were looking so quite excited about college. And he didn't put a comment like he also remembered his college years and he had a great deal of fun as himself. And I actually accepted his follow request and I responded to his comment and said that I liked college, and after some time he started to send me messages back and forward, and then he asked me for my Snapchat. I was like, this is not the first I actually add some complete strangers, but by now I really would have made myself the rule not to add a complete stranger right away without knowing them first. If there was a close friends or family that I really know, without a doubt, I would add them. But strangers, not a chance. This is the reason why I made that rule to myself. I actually gave Roger my Snapchat, and he did show me some photos of himself, but it turned out he was 35 years old. I was like, okay, this is not the first. I mean, I was 22 years old, so. And he wasn't actually any level of creepiness. He was actually very genuine, well, honest about himself. He just asked how my day had been, what I thought about college, and what my dreams were, what my dreams for the future have been, and he even asked how what my years at college, at high school were. Okay, that was maybe a little bit unexpected, but I was honest about my answers. And that's was the problem about this that I told him that I had to go to sleep since I have college the next day. He said good night and understood. And I actually put his conversation with him behind my mind for the next couple of days because he didn't reach out to me as much. And to be honest, I had almost forgotten about it until when I was in the library when I received a text or Snapchat from Roger. He just asked me how I've been doing. As I told him that I was just doing well after doing my studies in the library by myself at the moment. And he just asked if I was interested to maybe meet up some one day, just to grab a coffee or something, get to know each other better. I was I was actually not expected he would even put that question to me. But I told him I was politely as possible that despite that he was a bit older myself, I was not much in interest of being meeting some complete strangers right away because not knowing them. And I told him that I also had a boyfriend already, and even though there was just a question, I politely declined the offer, and he didn't seem to take that as any negative, which was a good thing because if he had told me that I had somehow let him on or something, I would have blocked him and deleted his friend request his on this Instagram as well. But he had just pretended to be as normal. We continued to have our normal conversations for the next couple of days and almost 2 weeks later. But things started to change slightly about his behavior, because it happened from time to time when he asked me how it was going between me and Benjamin. I didn't even mention my boyfriend's name, but only said that I had a boyfriend. I told him that was going well between us and that we had been together since we were 16. And he was very impressed that we had been together so long and that we were still together. I told him that we all actually went to the same college. So we did see each other, and we were even talking about even to get our own place soon while we were in college. He somehow took that a little bit offensive and said that I was way too young to be even considered living with my boyfriend. I should probably wait until after college. And I took that a little bit as an offensive myself. I told him if that is in my boyfriend's shoes choice to do, it is ours and no one else at all. And I told him that I didn't want to be talking to him the rest of the evening since I had a lot of things to do, which wasn't actually a fully true, but I was just felt annoyed by that statement. So a couple of days later, he reached out to me and asked for an apology that he stepped over the line there, and I actually accepted his apology. And he went back to being his normal self, like calmly for asking my day had been, how my studies has been. But once again, after about maybe a couple of days after that, he started asking me if I was interested to go out with him on a date, as a romantic one. But I once again made a statement to him telling him that I already had a boyfriend. But he brushed me off or ignored that statement and said that I will be his new girlfriend and that he will be my new boyfriend and that he will pick me up after college was over for the day. I told him that's creepy, and I would never want to do that since now he was really creeping me out, and that was disturbing. He even was offensive. He even said in a message that, "How dare you? I have been so nice. I have always been so kind to you, and this is how you respect. This is how you're paying back my respect. I thought you liked me. In the beginning, I did like him as a friend, and I did say that right after his statement that I only liked him as a friend, nothing more. There was nothing going to be any serious. It was nothing that we would even wanted to be dating at all. So I told him to lose my Snapchat, and I blocked him there and on Instagram. And in fact, despite that, I started to get into only about maybe a month later, I actually got a friend request on Instagram. By now, I had totally forgot about Roger. I actually had mentioned that shortly after I blocked him. I did mention to Rosaline about his comments, and she was like, "Wow, that's really creepy, man." And even Benjamin he was very protective of me. Well, he wasn't like this overprotective or helicopter parent type. He was just a normal protective because he will always make sure that I was safe. He said like, wow, at least that you blocked him, that's creepy. I would have not been okay that you actually met up with him. I mean, if you did meet up with him, who knows what he had in mind or what he was planning to do. Benjamin actually has a point. I know, despite that he was kind and all that, and afterwards said that I was not interested, how to see easily how he flipped out. I mean, what if that he actually did ask me in person if we would have met up? He likely would have grabbed my arm and demanded I break up with Benjamin and be with him. Well, let's say I was glad I didn't do that. But I did get the friend request about a month later, and it was from a complete stranger as well. This time it was a man who claimed to be around late 20s, or like 28 or 29 or something like that, I think. And I accepted it, and he pretended to be just normal, but after only a short time, I started to notice some similarities of Roger's behavior. But I couldn't prove it was actually Roger or not. I mean, it could have been a guy that was similar to Roger. But when I asked him about it, he at first denies that he was not even Roger, which is a red flag, and I was still not convinced. But luckily though, I asked him once again, and he later confirmed it was Roger. I told him not to be in contact me again, but he ignored me and said, I know where you live. We will meet soon. And he actually gave me my full home address. That freaked me out. I blocked him once again, told Benjamin and Rosaline and even my parents. At the time I still lived with my parents, but they all freaked out. My dad was very proud of me to handle this correctly. But how to this day I have no idea how he even found out about how my home address. But I was surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if he somehow tracked down by on the internet or something, which I would not be surprised. But ever since then, I didn't see much anything. I didn't receive any friend request or anything. But I did later on get the friend request from a girl who were at my age and supposed to be from the same town as well. And I actually accepted it. But it didn't take long for this girl to be asking if I want to meet up, just to hang out and maybe just grab a coffee or something. I was like, okay, I can do that. And when I went to see her at the cafe in town, I was actually in a distance, and she told me that she was sitting by the window. She was wearing a red shirt so I would know it was her. But when I got to the cafe, luckily though he didn't see me. When I say he, that means an actual him. And it was actually Roger. Because how did I know that was him? Like I said, he had shown me himself on Snapchat's photos, so I know, but there definitely was him. I even took a photo with my phone in behind the building, and I actually left and went home, tell my parents and even show them. Now my dad was clearly concerned. This was not a good behavior. Luckily for my parents, they have a friend within the law enforcement. They contacted their friend and he told me that despite Roger hasn't even actually made any physical contact with me or even met up me directly, there was nothing much they can do. But they could always be sending him a warning to stay away from me. And I told them that they could do that. And Roger received a message about it. And it didn't take long for Roger to tell me on this new Snapchat or Instagram account, how dare I even proceed to call the police on him. I told him I knew it was him all along and that he had been stalking me, but since he told me that they can never stop our true love, that he had been so delusional that he believed that I was in love with him but just playing hard to get. He started to follow me around in town. Yeah, he started to actually show up in person. Turned out he was even a local, which I didn't expect at first though. And he started to follow me around either at the streets or um, at the local stores and all that. But only a few places that he didn't show up directly was what was it at the college campus and my home. Especially if I had Benjamin with me, since he was like 6'2", and my dad. And my dad is a former Marine, and he is not taken lightly about his family, especially his only daughter. So I told him on Snapchat to stay away from me, or my dad would put a bullet in his head, or put a bullet in his butt. He didn't take account of that, and one evening, or one late night, I was laying on my bed just before I was asleep. I heard a knock on my window. I was like, what? At first, maybe I heard the wrong, maybe it was a bug or something, but it was a constant knock. And as I turned around, and who was it not other than Roger. Roger stood there and just smiled and said to me, almost like a whisper, to open the window so we can talk. He only wanted to talk and inside my room. But I shook my head and told him no. And I said, I don't want you to even be here. I didn't, but I got out of my bed, but then he smashed my window and opened it and started crawling inside. And luckily for my parents, they heard it. And my dad ran in, holding his shotgun towards Roger, which is actually had just dropped on the floor. When he saw it, well, let's say he stood up with hands up and said that he would only want here to talk to me because we are in love. But my dad told him that you were so delusional. And it didn't take long for the police to even arrive because my mom called them. They arrested Roger and, well, based on all the previous evidence and statements that I had done so far, and this attempted burglary, and later to find out that in his car there was duct tape, rope, and zip tires and all that. Turned out he was planning to kidnap me from my own room to make me to love him. He was so delusional. He found not guilty in trial, but he was sentenced to lifetime in mental institution for life without any possibility to be released, which is pretty much a good thing. If you think this is the last time Roger tried to talk to me, then no. He actually wrote me a letter shortly after he was admitted to the mental institution, where he wrote about his undying love for me, that we were lovers meant to be, and that I will be waiting for him when he gets out. But the thing is, he's never getting out, and I'm glad for that. And ever since then, it has been a year ever since, I actually have moved on. Me and Benjamin are still happy together, and we even have our own place by now. I mean, was the most disturbing and the creepiest, even though it was only for a short time. But I'm glad all of this matter is taken care of, and I would not have to be worried that he will be around the corner ever again. So, Roger, you are actually where you're supposed to be. If you even were to get out, you would have to stay away from me, because I will protect me, whatever means the matter. Thank you.